Welcome back to Stoic Saga, where we dive into the timeless wisdom of philosophy and practical insights to help you live a more balanced and intentional life. Today we're exploring 10 basic rules for better living, inspired by Stoic principles and supported by modern psychology and scientific research. These rules aren't just abstract concepts. They offer concrete, actionable steps to help you simplify your life, reduce stress, and foster greater happiness and fulfillment. Life is full of distractions, pressures, and constant demands. It's easy to get overwhelmed, but Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control and let go of the rest. These 10 rules are designed to help you navigate daily challenges with resilience, clarity, and a sense of purpose. Each rule is grounded not only in ancient philosophy, but also in insights from contemporary psychology and science. By incorporating these principles into your life, you'll be better equipped to handle stress, improve your relationships, and build a stronger sense of inner peace. Without further ado, let's jump into the first rule. Stop worrying. 1. Stop worrying. The first rule for better living is one of the most impactful. Stop worrying. Worry is a natural response to uncertainty, but it often becomes a mental habit that drains your energy, affects your emotional health, and distracts you from the present. The Stoics believed that worrying about things outside our control is not only useless but harmful. Instead, we should focus on what we can change while accepting the rest with grace. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, wrote in Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This insight forms the cornerstone of how to manage worry. When we focus on controlling only our thoughts, emotions, and actions, things within our control, we reclaim our power and reduce anxiety. But it's not just ancient philosophy that tells us worry is counterproductive. Modern psychology supports this idea, too. Research in cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, shows that excessive worrying can lead to anxiety disorders, including generalized anxiety disorder, GAD. One of the core principles in CBT is learning to challenge negative thought patterns that lead to worry, replacing them with more constructive thoughts that help you stay grounded in reality. A study published in Psychological Science found that 85% of the things people worry about never happen, and of the 15% of worries that do come true, most people handle those situations better than they expected. This means that the vast majority of our worries are based on hypothetical fears, not actual reality. When you find yourself spiraling into worry, it helps to use the Stoic method of focusing on what you can control and accepting what you can't. For example, if you're worried about a job interview, focus on preparing as best as you can. Study for the questions, dress appropriately, and practice your responses. Beyond that, worrying about how the interviewer will perceive you or how the job market looks is out of your control. Acceptance in this case doesn't mean complacency. It means understanding that after you've done your part, the outcome is no longer something you can influence. To put this into practice, you can use a technique from CBT called thought stopping. When you notice yourself worrying, say stop, either mentally or out loud, then challenge the worry by asking, is this something I can control? If the answer is no, practice letting it go. If the answer is yes, take steps to address it. A psychological tip to further reduce worry is mindfulness meditation. Numerous studies show that mindfulness, focusing on the present moment without judgment, can significantly lower anxiety and stress levels. A study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association, JAMA, showed that mindfulness meditation can be as effective as medication for anxiety. By anchoring yourself in the present, you let go of future worries that may never materialize. Another tool to combat worry is the worst-case scenario exercise. When you catch yourself worrying, imagine the worst possible outcome of the situation. Then ask yourself, could I survive this? Most often, you'll realize that even the worst-case scenario isn't as catastrophic as it feels in your mind. This shifts your perspective from one of fear to one of resilience. Worry can also prevent you from enjoying the present moment. If your mind is constantly occupied with what-ifs, you miss out on life as it unfolds around you. The Stoics believed in the importance of embracing the present. Seneca, another famous Stoic philosopher, said, "He suffers more than necessary, who suffers before it is necessary." This is a reminder that worrying about potential future problems causes unnecessary suffering in the present. Let's take a practical example. Imagine you're worried about a big presentation at work. You might spend hours obsessing over every detail, fearing that you'll make a mistake or that people will judge you. But in reality, you've prepared as well as you can. And once the presentation begins, the outcome is largely beyond your control. By worrying, you're creating stress and anxiety for yourself before the event even happens. A better approach would be to focus on preparation and then accept that you've done your best. Whether the presentation goes well or not, worrying won't change the outcome. It only drains your energy and adds unnecessary pressure. Finally, consider the physiological effects of worry. Studies show that chronic worry can trigger the body's stress response, leading to increased levels of cortisol, the hormone associated with stress. Over time, high cortisol levels can weaken your immune system, disrupt sleep, and even contribute to heart disease. This is why learning to manage and reduce worry isn't just about emotional health. It's about protecting your physical health as well. In conclusion, the rule to stop worrying is about reclaiming your mental energy and focusing on the present. Worry doesn't prevent future problems, and it certainly doesn't improve your well-being. By focusing on what you can control and accepting what you cannot, you can live with greater peace and resilience. Remember, as both the Stoics and modern psychology tell us, much of what we worry about never happens. The next time you catch yourself worrying, ask yourself, is this within my control? If not, let it go and focus on the here and now. 2. Stop trying to dominate and possess your friends and relatives. The second rule for better living is to stop trying to dominate and possess your friends and relatives. It's natural to care deeply about the people in our lives, but sometimes this concern can turn into a desire to control or dominate them. Whether it's trying to influence their decisions, shape their behaviors, or expecting them to fulfill certain roles in our lives, this need for control creates tension and damages relationships. Stoicism teaches us that each individual has their own path, and we must respect their autonomy and independence. In Letters from a Stoic, Seneca warns against trying to control others, saying, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." What Seneca is pointing out here is that much of the stress we feel in our relationships comes from our desire to shape others according to our own wishes. But no matter how much we care about someone, we cannot control their thoughts, actions, or decisions. The Stoics believed that true peace comes from accepting that others are responsible for their own choices, just as we are for ours. From a psychological standpoint, trying to control others can be a symptom of deeper issues like insecurity or anxiety. People who feel uncertain about their own lives may attempt to control those around them as a way to create a sense of stability. But this approach backfires because it leads to resentment and conflict. A study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that relationships characterized by control and dominance tend to suffer from lower levels of satisfaction and higher levels of stress. When we try to possess or dominate those close to us, we erode trust and mutual respect, both essential components of healthy relationships. Let's break this down with a practical example. Imagine you have a close friend who is making life choices that you disagree with. Maybe they're dating someone you don't approve of, or making career decisions that don't align with what you think is best. It's tempting to try to steer them toward the decisions you believe are right. But here's where the Stoic principle of acceptance comes in. You cannot control the choices of others. Your friend has their own path, and while you can offer advice if asked, trying to dominate their decisions will likely create friction and distance. Instead, practice detachment, not from the relationship, but from the need to control its outcomes. This doesn't mean you don't care about your friend or relative. It means you respect their autonomy. By letting go of the need to dominate or possess, you allow your relationships to breathe and grow naturally. A relationship based on respect for each other's individuality is far healthier and more fulfilling than one based on control. To help practice this in daily life, try the let go exercise. When you notice yourself becoming frustrated with someone's decisions or actions, pause and ask yourself, am I trying to control them, or am I respecting their autonomy? If you find that you're trying to dominate the situation, take a step back and remind yourself that their life is their responsibility, just as yours is your own. In addition to Stoic philosophy, modern psychology supports this approach. Attachment theory, for example, suggests that healthy relationships are based on secure attachments, where each person feels free to express themselves without fear of being controlled or judged. When one person in a relationship attempts to dominate or possess the other, it creates an insecure attachment, which can lead to anxiety, dependency, or avoidance behaviors. Studies show that secure attachments, built on mutual respect, support, and autonomy, lead to happier, longer-lasting relationships. A key part of this rule is learning to set boundaries in your relationships. Boundaries aren't just about protecting yourself, they're about respecting the other person's space and individuality. When you establish healthy boundaries, you create a framework for a relationship based on mutual respect, where neither party is trying to control or dominate the other. This aligns perfectly with Stoic thought. We focus on what is within our control, our own actions and boundaries, and let go of what is not, the other person's choices. Let's bring in another philosophical perspective to complement the Stoic view. Jean-Paul Sartre, a French existentialist philosopher, once said, "Freedom is what you do with what's been done to you." Sartre's philosophy emphasized individual freedom and the importance of taking responsibility for our own actions. In relationships, this means respecting the freedom of others to make their own choices, while focusing on how we respond to those choices. Sartre, like the Stoics, believed that trying to control others is a form of denying their freedom, which ultimately leads to frustration and conflict. Another way to support this idea comes from behavioral psychology, which highlights the importance of positive reinforcement in relationships. Rather than trying to dominate or control someone's behavior, encourage and support the positive choices they make. Research shows that people are more likely to change and grow in a healthy environment where they feel supported, not controlled. When we focus on positive reinforcement, we foster growth and trust in our relationships, rather than resentment or rebellion. In conclusion, the rule to stop trying to dominate and possess your friends and relatives is about respecting the autonomy of others and releasing the need for control. When we let go of the desire to shape others' lives according to our own wishes, we create healthier, more balanced relationships. The Stoics remind us that we are only responsible for our own actions and choices, not those of others. By accepting this, we free ourselves from unnecessary stress and allow our relationships to flourish. The next time you feel the urge to control or dominate someone's decisions, ask yourself, am I respecting their freedom, or am I imposing my own desires on them? 3. Moderate ambition. The third rule for better living is to moderate your ambition. Ambition, when balanced, can drive us toward achieving our goals and growing as individuals. However, unchecked ambition can lead to stress, dissatisfaction, and even destructive behavior. The Stoics believed that while it's important to strive for excellence, we should be careful not to let our ambitions consume us or blind us to the things that truly matter in life. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus warned against becoming overly attached to outcomes, saying, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." This advice can be applied directly to ambition. When ambition is not moderated, it often leads us to chase after things that are outside our control, whether it's fame, wealth, or recognition. The pursuit of these external rewards can leave us feeling empty and dissatisfied because they are fleeting and ultimately beyond our grasp. Let's look at how modern psychology views ambition. Studies show that while setting goals and being ambitious can improve motivation and provide a sense of purpose, there's a point at which too much ambition can be harmful. In fact, research on work-life balance suggests that individuals with extreme ambition often experience higher levels of stress, burnout, and a diminished sense of life satisfaction. A study published in the Journal of Happiness Studies found that people who set overly ambitious goals without moderating their expectations often report lower levels of happiness and well-being compared to those who pursue more balanced, realistic objectives. So, how do we find the balance between healthy ambition and overreaching? Moderation is key. It's essential to set goals that challenge and inspire you, but they should also align with your values and not come at the expense of your mental health, relationships, or integrity. One of the best ways to moderate ambition is to focus on internal goals, such as personal growth, learning, and self-improvement, rather than external achievements like wealth, status, or recognition. Take, for example, a professional goal. Let's say you're ambitious about advancing in your career. This ambition can be a great motivator, pushing you to work hard and develop your skills. But if your entire self-worth becomes tied to getting a promotion or reaching a certain salary, your ambition can turn toxic. You may find yourself working late hours, neglecting relationships, and sacrificing your health, all in pursuit of a goal that may be beyond your control. In contrast, if you focus on improving your skills, doing work that you're passionate about, and making a positive impact, you'll still grow professionally, but without the added stress and dissatisfaction that comes from chasing external rewards. Aristotle, another great philosopher, spoke about ambition in terms of virtue. He believed that moderation, what he called the golden mean, is the key to living a balanced and happy life. Ambition, when it becomes excessive, is a vice, just as a lack of ambition can be a sign of complacency. Aristotle's golden mean encourages us to find the middle ground. Be ambitious, but not at the cost of our well-being or values. Another angle comes from psychology's concept of flow, a term coined by psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. Flow is a state of deep engagement and satisfaction where a person is fully absorbed in an activity. People who experience flow aren't driven by external rewards, but by the intrinsic joy of the activity itself. When you moderate your ambition and focus on the process rather than the outcome, you're more likely to enter this flow state. This not only enhances your sense of fulfillment, but also leads to better performance, as you're less distracted by external pressures or the need for recognition. To put this into practice, you can try the ambition reflection exercise. At the end of each week, take a few minutes to reflect on your goals and ambitions. Ask yourself, am I pursuing these goals for the right reasons? Are they aligned with my values, or am I chasing external rewards? If you find that your ambitions are causing more stress than satisfaction, consider adjusting your goals or shifting your focus toward internal growth and improvement. This practice helps keep your ambition in check while ensuring that it remains a source of motivation rather than frustration. It's also important to recognize that moderating ambition doesn't mean lowering your standards or giving up on your dreams. Instead, it means finding a balance where your ambitions enhance your life rather than dominate it. By keeping your goals realistic and aligned with your core values, you ensure that your ambition serves you rather than becoming a source of anxiety or burnout. Let's consider a real-life example. Imagine someone who is highly ambitious in their fitness journey. They set extreme goals, such as working out twice a day, cutting out entire food groups, and aiming for an unrealistic body image. While they may achieve short-term results, this kind of ambition often leads to burnout, injury, and a negative relationship with food and exercise. In contrast, someone who takes a more moderate approach, focusing on long-term health, balance, and enjoyment, will likely see better results and maintain a healthier lifestyle. Their ambition is sustainable because it's rooted in self-care rather than perfectionism. From a scientific perspective, research on goal setting supports the idea of moderation. A study from the University of California found that people who set smaller, incremental goals are more likely to achieve long-term success compared to those who aim for large, ambitious goals all at once. This is because smaller goals are more manageable and help build momentum, while overly ambitious goals can feel overwhelming and lead to discouragement. In conclusion, the rule to moderate ambition is about striking a balance between striving for success and maintaining your well-being. Ambition can be a powerful force for good when it's aligned with your values and pursued with mindfulness. But when it becomes excessive or focused solely on external rewards, it leads to stress, dissatisfaction, and even harm. By moderating your ambition, you not only achieve your goals more effectively, but also enjoy the journey along the way. The next time you find yourself caught up in the pursuit of a goal, ask yourself, is my ambition serving me, or is it causing me unnecessary stress? 4. Do not accumulate more than you need. The fourth rule for better living is to avoid accumulating more than you need. In a world that constantly pushes us to buy more, own more, and consume more, this rule stands as a powerful reminder of the Stoic belief in living simply and focusing on what truly matters. Accumulating excess, whether it's material possessions, wealth, or even obligations, can weigh you down and distract you from living a fulfilled and meaningful life. The Stoics taught that happiness doesn't come from owning more, it comes from needing less. Seneca, the Roman Stoic philosopher, often wrote about the dangers of excessive wealth and possessions. In one of his letters he says, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." This Stoic perspective suggests that the constant desire for more money, more luxury, more success, can lead to an endless cycle of dissatisfaction. No matter how much we accumulate, it will never feel like enough if we're always chasing after the next thing. True contentment comes from appreciating what we already have and recognizing that we need far less than we think to live a good life. Modern psychology supports this idea. Research on materialism shows that people who place a high value on accumulating wealth and possessions tend to experience lower levels of happiness, increased anxiety, and diminished life satisfaction. A study published in the Journal of Consumer Research found that materialistic individuals often fall into a cycle of wanting more, which leads to short-term pleasure but long-term dissatisfaction. This is known as the hedonic treadmill, where each new acquisition provides a brief moment of happiness, followed by the desire for the next purchase. In contrast, those who focus on experiences, relationships, and personal growth report higher levels of sustained happiness. From a practical standpoint, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that more is better. We live in a consumer-driven society that tells us success is measured by how much we own. Whether it's upgrading to the latest phone, buying a bigger house, or filling our closets with more clothes, the pressure to accumulate can be overwhelming. But the truth is, most of the things we acquire don't contribute to our happiness. They often add stress, clutter, and even financial strain. By simplifying your life and focusing on what you truly need, you free yourself from the burden of excess and create more space for the things that really matter. Let's consider the minimalist movement, which aligns closely with this Stoic principle. Minimalism is about living with less, fewer possessions, fewer distractions, and fewer obligations. People who embrace minimalism report feeling more free, focused, and content. They're able to spend their time and energy on experiences, relationships, and personal growth, rather than maintaining and acquiring more stuff. A study from DePaul University found that minimalists experience lower levels of stress and greater satisfaction with life compared to those who prioritize material accumulation. One way to start applying this rule in your own life is to do a needs versus wants audit. Take a look at your possessions, your spending habits, and even your commitments. Ask yourself, do I really need this, or is it something I'm holding on to because of habit, status, or fear of missing out? If it's not something that adds value to your life or contributes to your well-being, consider letting it go. This could mean decluttering your home, cutting back on unnecessary expenses, or even re-evaluating social obligations that drain your energy without bringing you joy. Let's take a practical example. Imagine someone who spends a lot of time and money accumulating the latest gadgets and luxury items. They believe that each new purchase will make them happier or more successful. But over time, they realize that these things are just temporary fixes. The excitement of the new phone or designer clothing wears off quickly, and they find themselves wanting more, feeling less satisfied with what they have. In contrast, someone who focuses on simplicity, only buying what they truly need, and finding joy in experiences rather than possessions, has a lighter, more peaceful life. They don't feel the constant pressure to keep up with trends or accumulate more because they've already learned that happiness doesn't come from having more stuff. A fascinating psychological insight related to this comes from the concept of decision fatigue. When we own too many things, or have too many options, we experience mental fatigue from having to make constant decisions: what to wear, what to use, what to prioritize. This drains our mental energy, leaving us feeling overwhelmed. By simplifying your life and reducing the number of decisions you have to make, you free up mental space for more meaningful pursuits. Research from Columbia University shows that people who simplify their choices, whether it's by reducing their wardrobe or limiting their daily decisions, tend to be less stressed and more focused. Another important aspect of not accumulating more than you need is the financial freedom that comes with it. The Stoics believed in living modestly and avoiding unnecessary luxuries, not because they were against wealth, but because they understood that chasing material goods can lead to financial strain and anxiety. Modern studies in behavioral economics show that financial stress is one of the leading causes of anxiety and unhappiness. By focusing on living within your means and avoiding the accumulation of unnecessary possessions, you can reduce financial stress and enjoy a greater sense of security and peace. Let's bring in another philosophical perspective. Epicurus, a Greek philosopher often associated with the pursuit of pleasure, actually advocated for a simple life. He believed that true pleasure comes not from indulgence, but from living a life free of unnecessary desires. Epicurus wrote, "Not what we have, but what we enjoy, constitutes our abundance." This idea aligns closely with Stoic teachings, reminding us that we don't need to accumulate wealth or possessions to live a rich, fulfilling life. Finally, there's also an environmental aspect to this rule. Accumulating more than we need not only impacts our personal well-being, but also has broader consequences for the planet. The overconsumption of resources contributes to environmental degradation, pollution, and climate change. By choosing to live more simply and consume less, we not only improve our own lives, but also contribute to a healthier, more sustainable world. In conclusion, the rule to not accumulate more than you need is about embracing simplicity and recognizing that happiness doesn't come from having more. It comes from needing less. By focusing on what truly matters and letting go of excess, you create space for more meaningful experiences, relationships, and personal growth. The next time you're tempted to acquire something new, ask yourself, do I need this, or am I seeking happiness in the wrong place? 5. Learn to relax. The fifth rule for better living is to learn to relax. In a world that constantly demands productivity, achievement, and hustle, relaxation often feels like a luxury or even a waste of time. However, both the Stoics and modern psychology teach us that relaxation is not only essential for physical health, but also for mental clarity and emotional resilience. Learning to relax is about more than just taking breaks. It's about mastering the ability to let go of stress, unwind, and restore your inner peace. The Stoics understood the importance of balance. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." This Stoic principle reminds us that stress often comes from our perception of events, not the events themselves. By changing how we think about stress and learning to relax our minds, we gain control over how external pressures affect us. From a psychological perspective, relaxation is crucial for managing stress and maintaining mental health. Stress management techniques, such as mindfulness and progressive muscle relaxation, have been proven to reduce anxiety, lower blood pressure, and improve overall well-being. According to a study published in the Journal of Psychosomatic Research, people who regularly practice relaxation techniques experience lower levels of the stress hormone cortisol and report feeling more in control of their emotions. But relaxation isn't just about sitting back and doing nothing. It's about creating intentional moments of calm in your life, where you can reset your mind and body. This doesn't mean you have to meditate for hours or take long vacations, although those are great when possible. Instead, it's about finding small, daily moments to unwind, whether through deep breathing, a short walk, or simply closing your eyes and clearing your mind. One practical method for learning to relax is the 4-7-8 breathing technique, developed by Dr. Andrew Weil, a leader in integrative medicine. This simple practice involves inhaling for 4 seconds, holding the breath for 7 seconds, and exhaling for 8 seconds. This breathing pattern helps activate the body's parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for relaxation. Studies have shown that deep breathing exercises like this one can reduce stress levels, calm the mind, and even improve sleep quality. Another key component of relaxation is mindfulness, which is rooted in both Stoic philosophy and modern psychological practices. Mindfulness is the act of being fully present in the moment, without judgment or distraction. The Stoics believed that much of our distress comes from being caught up in thoughts about the past or future. By grounding yourself in the present moment, you can release unnecessary worries and find peace in the here and now. Mindfulness has been extensively studied in psychology, with numerous clinical trials showing its effectiveness in reducing anxiety, depression, and stress. A study published in the American Psychological Association found that people who practice mindfulness meditation regularly experience significant reductions in stress and an increase in their ability to manage difficult emotions. By incorporating mindfulness into your daily life, whether through meditation, mindful breathing, or simply paying attention to your surroundings, you can build a lasting sense of calm and relaxation. Let's take a practical example. Imagine you're in a high-pressure job where deadlines, meetings, and constant demands are part of your daily routine. It's easy to get caught up in the stress and feel overwhelmed by everything you have to do. But instead of pushing through without pause, learning to relax might mean stepping away for 5 minutes to practice deep breathing, taking a short walk outside, or simply closing your eyes and focusing on your breath. These small moments of relaxation can make a huge difference in how you manage stress throughout the day. In neuroscience, relaxation has been shown to directly affect brain function. Research from the Harvard Medical School demonstrates that regular relaxation practices can change the brain's structure, particularly in areas related to emotional regulation and stress management. The brain's amygdala, which is responsible for the fight-or-flight response, becomes less active, while areas associated with focus and emotional control, such as the prefrontal cortex, become more robust. This means that by learning to relax, you're not just calming your mind in the moment, you're actually rewiring your brain to handle stress more effectively in the future. It's also important to recognize that relaxation isn't the same for everyone. What relaxes one person might not work for another, so it's essential to find what works best for you. Some people find relaxation through physical activities like yoga, while others prefer quiet activities like reading, listening to music, or spending time in nature. The key is to make relaxation a regular part of your routine, rather than something you only do when you're completely burned out. To help you integrate relaxation into your life, try the relaxation reflection. At the end of each day, take 5 minutes to reflect on how you handled stress and whether you gave yourself enough time to relax. Ask yourself, did I take a moment today to unwind? If not, think about what simple steps you could take tomorrow to create more space for relaxation, even if it's just a few minutes of deep breathing or a quick stretch. This reflection helps you stay mindful of your need for relaxation and encourages you to make it a priority. In addition to its emotional and mental benefits, relaxation is essential for physical health. Chronic stress has been linked to a wide range of health issues, from heart disease to digestive problems to a weakened immune system. A study from the American Heart Association found that people who practice regular relaxation techniques such as meditation or deep breathing have lower blood pressure and a reduced risk of heart-related issues. By making relaxation a habit, you're not just improving your mental state, you're also protecting your body from the harmful effects of stress. Finally, let's bring in a quote from Thich Nhat Hanh, a Vietnamese Zen master and peace activist, who said, "Sometimes your joy is the source of your smile, but sometimes your smile can be the source of your joy." This is a reminder that relaxation and joy often go hand in hand. When you allow yourself to relax, you create space for happiness and contentment to flow naturally rather than constantly chasing after it. In conclusion, the rule to learn to relax is about reclaiming your peace of mind and restoring balance to your life. Relaxation isn't a luxury, it's a necessity for mental clarity, emotional resilience, and physical health. By integrating small moments of relaxation into your daily routine, you can reduce stress, improve your well-being, and cultivate a lasting sense of calm. The next time you feel overwhelmed, ask yourself, what can I do right now to relax and restore my peace of mind? Even a few minutes can make all the difference. 6. Cultivate a sense of humor. The sixth rule for better living is to cultivate a sense of humor. Life is full of challenges, obstacles, and frustrations, but the ability to laugh at yourself and at the absurdities of life can be a powerful tool for maintaining emotional resilience. A sense of humor helps us stay grounded, puts things into perspective, and prevents us from taking ourselves or life too seriously. The Stoics knew that while we can't control everything that happens, we can always control how we react. And humor is one of the best ways to diffuse tension and cope with the unexpected. While the Stoics didn't focus explicitly on humor, they believed in approaching life with a calm and accepting attitude. In Meditations, Marcus Aurelius writes, "The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it." This Stoic principle aligns with the idea of humor. If you can change your perspective on a situation and find the lightness in it, you change your experience of life. Humor shifts your mindset from one of stress and frustration to one of openness and resilience. Modern psychology strongly supports the idea that humor is beneficial for both mental and physical health. Laughter therapy is a recognized practice used to reduce stress, boost mood, and even improve physical health. According to research published in the American Journal of Lifestyle Medicine, laughter stimulates the release of endorphins, our body's natural feel-good chemicals. These endorphins help reduce pain, lower stress levels, and improve our overall sense of well-being. By laughing, even in tough situations, you give your brain a much-needed reset, allowing you to approach problems with more clarity and optimism. Humor is especially effective in helping people cope with adversity. Studies have shown that individuals who use humor as a coping mechanism tend to be more resilient in the face of stress and less prone to depression and anxiety. A study from Stanford University found that people who can laugh at their own mistakes or misfortunes are better able to bounce back from setbacks. This is because humor allows them to reframe challenges as temporary or less serious than they initially seemed. Think about a time when something went wrong in your life. Whether it was a small inconvenience, like spilling coffee on yourself before an important meeting, or a more significant challenge. In moments like these, we often feel frustration or embarrassment. But what if, instead of getting upset, you laughed at the absurdity of the situation? By finding humor in the mishap, you reduce its emotional impact and remind yourself that life is full of these little moments of unpredictability. One practical way to cultivate a sense of humor is through the practice of self-deprecating humor. This doesn't mean putting yourself down in a negative way, but rather being able to laugh at your imperfections and quirks. No one is perfect. And embracing that fact with humor can help you develop a lighter, more forgiving attitude toward yourself. For example, if you make a mistake at work, instead of beating yourself up over it, you can acknowledge it with a smile and move on. As the saying goes, laughter is the best medicine, and in this case, it's the best antidote to self-criticism and stress. Let's consider a real-world example. Imagine you're late to an important meeting because you got stuck in traffic. You could arrive feeling flustered and frustrated, which might affect your performance in the meeting. Or you could choose to laugh at the situation, recognizing that sometimes life throws you curveballs, and this was just one of those moments. By approaching the situation with humor, you reduce your stress, clear your mind, and walk into the meeting with a more relaxed and confident demeanor. Research in positive psychology has shown that humor can also strengthen relationships. Sharing a laugh with someone fosters a sense of connection and builds trust. A study from the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships found that couples who laugh together frequently tend to have stronger, more resilient relationships. Humor creates a bond between people, allowing them to navigate difficult conversations or conflicts with less tension. So, by cultivating a sense of humor, you're not only improving your own well-being, but also enhancing your relationships with others. The Stoic concept of amor fati, or love of fate, can also be linked to the idea of humor. Amor fati teaches us to embrace whatever life throws our way, whether good or bad. When we laugh at life's absurdities, we are, in a sense, practicing amor fati. Instead of resisting or resenting challenges, we accept them with a smile, recognizing that they are part of the human experience. A good way to start practicing humor in your daily life is to incorporate the smile first technique. When something goes wrong or you feel stress building up, force yourself to smile before reacting. Studies show that the physical act of smiling, even if it's forced at first, can trick your brain into feeling more positive and relaxed. Over time, this small habit can help you approach stressful situations with a more light-hearted attitude, reducing your overall stress and increasing your sense of control. Another psychological insight comes from cognitive reframing. This is a technique used in cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, where individuals are encouraged to change the way they interpret negative situations. Humor is one of the most effective ways to reframe situations that initially seem serious or stressful. By finding the humor in a challenge, you shift your brain's focus away from negative emotions and toward a more positive, resilient mindset. For example, instead of thinking, "This presentation is going to be a disaster," you might joke to yourself, "Well, at least if it's a disaster, I'll have a funny story to tell later." This small shift in thinking can significantly reduce anxiety. A philosophical complement to this idea comes from Blaise Pascal, a French philosopher who said, "All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone." While Pascal was reflecting on the existential restlessness that drives human suffering, we can apply his insight to our need for humor. Much of our stress comes from taking life too seriously and being unable to see the humor in our own struggles. By learning to laugh at ourselves and at life's unpredictability, we give ourselves the ability to sit more comfortably with uncertainty and imperfection. In conclusion, the rule to cultivate a sense of humor is about embracing the lighter side of life. Humor helps us cope with stress, bounce back from setbacks, and maintain perspective when things don't go as planned. It's a powerful tool for building resilience, improving relationships, and enjoying life more fully. The next time you face a challenge or frustration, ask yourself, can I find the humor in this? You'll be surprised at how much easier it is to handle life's difficulties with a smile and a laugh. 7. Find a reason for your own existence. The seventh rule for better living is to find a reason for your own existence. This principle goes beyond simply setting goals or achieving success. It's about discovering a deeper purpose that gives meaning to your life. The Stoics, along with many other philosophical traditions, taught that a fulfilling life is one grounded in purpose. When you know your why, you're better able to navigate challenges, make decisions, and feel a sense of satisfaction in everyday life. In Stoic philosophy, finding purpose is often connected to the idea of living in accordance with nature, which means understanding your unique strengths, values, and role in society. Marcus Aurelius, in Meditations, writes, "People exist for one another. Teach them then, or bear with them." For Marcus, purpose wasn't about self-centered achievement, but rather about contributing to the world and finding meaning through service and connection. The Stoics believed that each person has a role to play in the grander scheme of life, and by fulfilling that role, we find contentment and peace. Psychological research strongly supports the idea that having a sense of purpose is linked to greater well-being, resilience, and even physical health. According to a study published in the Journal of Behavioral Medicine, people who report a strong sense of purpose in life experience lower levels of stress and are less likely to suffer from depression and anxiety. Purpose provides a sense of direction and motivation, helping individuals to persevere in the face of setbacks and stay focused on what truly matters. When you find a purpose that resonates with you, it acts as a kind of internal compass. You're less likely to be swayed by external pressures, material pursuits, or fleeting distractions. Instead, you're driven by something deeper, whether it's a passion, a commitment to helping others, or a desire for self-improvement. This doesn't mean that your purpose has to be something grand or world-changing. Even small personal purposes can bring immense meaning and joy. Finding purpose often involves self-reflection and a willingness to explore what truly matters to you. One helpful exercise is to ask yourself a series of questions, such as, what activities make me feel alive? When do I feel the most fulfilled? Who or what inspires me? These questions can help you identify core values and interests that may point toward your purpose. Once you have a clearer sense of your values, consider ways to incorporate them into your daily life. Let's consider a practical example. Imagine someone who feels unfulfilled in their job, despite its financial rewards. They find themselves wondering if there's more to life than just going through the motions each day. By exploring their interests and passions, they realize that they have a deep desire to help others. This leads them to volunteer at a local charity on weekends. While this volunteer work may not bring financial rewards, it provides a sense of purpose that their job alone doesn't fulfill. Over time, this experience might even inspire them to shift their career towards something more meaningful. Finding purpose doesn't always mean drastic changes. It can be as simple as incorporating small acts of purpose into your life. From a neuroscientific perspective, having a purpose activates reward centers in the brain. Studies have shown that when people engage in purposeful activities, their brains release dopamine, the feel-good neurotransmitter associated with motivation and pleasure. This helps explain why individuals with a strong sense of purpose often feel more energized and positive about life. In contrast, people without a sense of direction may experience apathy, boredom, and even symptoms of depression. A concept that complements the Stoic idea of purpose is ikigai, a Japanese term that roughly translates to a reason for being. Ikigai is often represented as the intersection between what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can be rewarded for. This framework encourages you to think of purpose not only as a personal passion, but as something that aligns with your talents and serves the greater good. By finding your ikigai, you create a balanced and fulfilling life that connects personal satisfaction with contribution to society. Another way to deepen your sense of purpose is by practicing gratitude. Studies show that gratitude is closely linked to purpose because it helps us focus on what we already have and appreciate the positive aspects of our lives. By acknowledging the things you're grateful for, you become more attuned to the values and relationships that matter most. This, in turn, clarifies your sense of purpose by highlighting the people and activities that bring you joy and fulfillment. It's also important to recognize that purpose can evolve over time. What gives your life meaning today may change as you grow and experience new things. The Stoics would argue that this is natural and that we should remain open to evolving our purpose as our circumstances change. Rather than clinging rigidly to a single path, remain adaptable and allow your purpose to shift as needed. As the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche once said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." This perspective emphasizes the power of purpose in helping us endure hardships and overcome obstacles. Finally, finding purpose is not about reaching a final destination. It's a continuous journey. Even small steps toward purpose, like engaging in a hobby you're passionate about or helping others in small ways, can enrich your life and provide a sense of direction. Remember, purpose doesn't have to be complex or life-altering. It can be as simple as striving to be the best version of yourself each day. In conclusion, the rule to find a reason for your own existence is about discovering what brings you fulfillment and using that as a guide for how you live. Purpose is a powerful motivator that helps you navigate life's challenges, make meaningful choices, and find joy in the everyday. The next time you're feeling lost or unfulfilled, take a moment to reflect on what gives your life meaning and consider how you can incorporate that purpose into your daily actions. 8. Never intentionally harm others. The 8th rule for better living is to never intentionally harm others. This principle goes beyond simply avoiding physical harm. It includes emotional, psychological, and even verbal harm. The Stoics believed in the importance of living a virtuous life, and one of the key aspects of virtue is treating others with respect, empathy, and compassion. When we choose not to harm others, we foster healthier relationships and create a more positive environment for ourselves and those around us. In Stoic philosophy, the concept of sympathia, or the interconnectedness of all people, highlights our shared humanity and the responsibility we have toward each other. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What injures the hive injures the bee." This means that when we harm others, we ultimately harm ourselves, as we are all interconnected. Treating others with kindness and respect is not just about morality. It's about recognizing that we are part of a larger whole, and by helping others, we uplift ourselves. Psychology strongly supports this idea, showing that people who practice empathy and kindness toward others experience greater happiness, lower stress levels, and a deeper sense of purpose. Studies have demonstrated that kindness triggers the release of oxytocin, often referred to as the love hormone, which fosters feelings of trust, bonding, and emotional warmth. According to a study published in the Journal of Positive Psychology, people who engage in acts of kindness, whether through small gestures or larger acts of generosity, experience increased happiness and life satisfaction. This suggests that treating others well isn't just good for them, it's good for you too. Let's break down the different ways in which we can avoid harming others. First, there's physical harm, which may seem obvious, but it also includes respecting others' personal space, boundaries, and physical comfort. Next, emotional harm involves avoiding actions or words that might hurt someone's feelings, trigger insecurities, or create unnecessary tension. This doesn't mean avoiding difficult conversations, but rather approaching them with respect and empathy. Psychological harm can arise when we manipulate, gaslight, or undermine someone's sense of reality or self-worth. By being mindful of how our actions affect others, we foster an environment of trust and respect. A practical way to implement this rule is by practicing active empathy. Empathy goes beyond simply understanding someone else's feelings. It's about taking the time to put yourself in their shoes. This can be as simple as listening without judgment, asking questions to understand their perspective, or considering how your actions or words might affect them. Active empathy is particularly important in moments of conflict or disagreement, where it's easy to become defensive or reactive. By taking a step back and focusing on empathy, you're more likely to respond constructively rather than hurtfully. Consider a practical example. Imagine you're in a heated argument with a friend or family member. It's tempting to let frustration or anger take over and say things you might regret. But if you remember the principle of not intentionally harming others, you'll approach the situation differently. You might pause, take a breath, and choose words that express your feelings without causing unnecessary harm. This doesn't mean you can't be honest or assertive. It means choosing your words and actions thoughtfully, with respect for the other person. Research on conflict resolution shows that people who approach disagreements with empathy and respect tend to resolve conflicts more effectively and maintain stronger relationships over time. A study from Harvard University found that couples who engage in constructive communication, avoiding blame and criticism, report higher levels of satisfaction and intimacy in their relationships. This research highlights the importance of kindness and empathy in all types of relationships, whether romantic, familial, or professional. The Stoic approach to this rule can also be seen in the concept of forgiveness. The Stoics believed that holding on to anger and resentment is ultimately harmful to oneself, not just to others. By choosing to forgive, we free ourselves from negative emotions and allow for healing and growth. Forgiveness doesn't mean excusing harmful behavior, but it does mean letting go of the desire for revenge or retribution. In doing so, we prevent ourselves from perpetuating harm, both to others and to ourselves. Another aspect of this rule is ethical integrity. When we harm others, even unintentionally, we undermine our own integrity and the trust others have in us. Acting with ethical integrity involves making choices that align with your values and treating others as you would want to be treated. This includes avoiding gossip, manipulation, and other behaviors that might harm someone's reputation or self-esteem. By choosing to act with integrity, you not only strengthen your relationships, but also build a reputation as someone who is trustworthy and compassionate. Let's bring in another philosophical perspective here. Confucius, the ancient Chinese philosopher, emphasized the importance of kindness and respect toward others. He taught the principle of Ren, often translated as humanness or benevolence, which involves treating others with compassion and empathy. Confucius believed that when we act with Ren, we create a harmonious society. His philosophy aligns with the Stoic idea that kindness is not only a personal virtue, but a social responsibility. From a neuroscientific perspective, acts of kindness and empathy activate the brain's reward centers. Studies show that helping others releases dopamine and serotonin, the neurotransmitters associated with pleasure and happiness. This means that when you choose not to harm others, but instead treat them with kindness, you're not only fostering better relationships, but also benefiting your own mental health. The helper's high is a real phenomenon that reinforces the connection between empathy and well-being. A practical exercise you can try is the kindness reflection. At the end of each day, reflect on your interactions with others and ask yourself if there were moments where you could have acted with more kindness or empathy. This reflection helps you become more aware of your behavior and encourages you to approach future interactions with greater thoughtfulness. It also allows you to recognize moments where you did act kindly, reinforcing the positive impact of those actions on your own well-being. In conclusion, the rule to never intentionally harm others is about fostering a life of kindness, empathy, and ethical integrity. By choosing not to harm others, we build stronger, more trusting relationships and contribute to a more positive environment. The next time you find yourself in a difficult interaction, ask yourself, how can I approach this situation without causing harm? You'll find that choosing kindness benefits not only others, but also your own peace and happiness. 9. Beware of anger. The 9th rule for better living is to beware of anger. Anger is a powerful and often destructive emotion that can cloud judgment, strain relationships, and lead to actions we later regret. The Stoics viewed anger as a weakness, not a strength, because it represents a loss of self-control. By learning to recognize and manage anger, we gain greater emotional resilience, make wiser decisions, and maintain more harmonious relationships. Seneca, the Roman Stoic philosopher, wrote an entire essay on anger, in which he described anger as a temporary madness. He argued that anger serves no productive purpose and often harms both the person feeling it and those around them. For the Stoics, the goal was to cultivate inner peace and clarity, and anger was seen as a major obstacle to achieving this state. Seneca advised that when anger arises, we should pause, reflect, and choose a calm response rather than giving in to impulsive reactions. Modern psychology echoes the Stoic view on anger, showing that it is an emotion that can be managed with the right techniques. Anger management strategies such as deep breathing, cognitive reframing, and mindfulness are commonly used to help individuals control their anger and respond to situations in a healthier way. Research published in the Journal of Clinical Psychology found that individuals who practice anger management techniques experience lower levels of stress, improved mental health, and better interpersonal relationships. This supports the idea that anger, while natural, is something we can learn to manage effectively. One practical method to handle anger is the 10-second rule. When you feel anger rising, count to 10 before responding. This pause allows you to gain perspective and gives your brain time to switch from the impulsive emotional response to a more rational one. During these 10 seconds, try taking a few deep breaths and reminding yourself that reacting in anger may not serve you in the long term. This simple technique can prevent countless arguments and regrets by giving you the time to choose a calmer response. Another helpful practice is cognitive reframing, which involves changing the way you interpret a situation. For example, if someone cuts you off in traffic, your initial reaction might be anger, interpreting their action as a sign of disrespect or carelessness. However, by reframing the situation, perhaps considering that they may be in a rush due to an emergency, you reduce your anger and maintain a sense of calm. Cognitive reframing is widely used in cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, and has been shown to help people manage intense emotions, including anger, by shifting their perspective. Let's consider a practical example. Imagine you're at work and a colleague takes credit for an idea you suggested in a meeting. Your initial reaction might be anger, feeling that your hard work and contribution have been unfairly taken. But instead of responding impulsively, you pause, take a few breaths, and think about how to address the situation calmly. By approaching your colleague later and explaining how you feel in a constructive manner, you're more likely to resolve the situation without unnecessary conflict. Studies in neuroscience show that anger activates the brain's amygdala, the area responsible for the fight-or-flight response. This activation often leads to impulsive, defensive reactions that we later regret. However, the prefrontal cortex, responsible for decision-making and impulse control, can override this response if given a moment to engage. By pausing, as Seneca recommended, you give your prefrontal cortex time to take control, allowing for a response that's guided by rational thought rather than raw emotion. The Stoic approach to anger also involves cultivating empathy and understanding toward others. Marcus Aurelius in Meditations advised, "Whenever you are about to find fault with someone, ask yourself the following question: what fault of mine most nearly resembles the one I'm about to criticize?" This perspective encourages self-reflection and empathy, reminding us that we all have flaws and make mistakes. By practicing understanding, we're less likely to let anger take over in moments of frustration with others. An additional technique is the name it to tame it method, a term popularized by psychiatrist Dr. Dan Siegel. When you feel anger rising, identify and label the emotion by saying, "I am feeling angry right now." Research shows that labeling emotions activates the brain's prefrontal cortex, which helps to calm down the amygdala response. By acknowledging your anger, you can take a step back and choose a more constructive way to respond, rather than being swept away by the emotion. Another perspective comes from Buddhism, which often overlaps with Stoicism in its emphasis on mindfulness and detachment. The Buddha taught that anger is a form of suffering that harms the person who feels it as much as those it's directed toward. Buddhist teachings on compassion and mindfulness encourage us to let go of anger by understanding its root causes and practicing compassion toward others and ourselves. This aligns with the Stoic view that anger is a hindrance to inner peace. Finally, it's important to remember that managing anger doesn't mean suppressing it or ignoring your feelings. Anger is a natural response, and it can sometimes signal that something needs to change or be addressed. The key is to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Expressing your feelings in a calm and constructive way allows you to communicate your needs and boundaries without causing harm or creating unnecessary conflict. In conclusion, the rule to beware of anger is about cultivating emotional resilience and making wise choices in moments of frustration. By learning to manage anger, we protect our peace of mind and strengthen our relationships. The next time you feel anger rising, ask yourself, is my reaction serving me, or is it leading me away from the peace and clarity I seek? This moment of reflection can be the difference between an impulsive response and a thoughtful one, leading to a more balanced and fulfilling life. 10. Never blame others for your own mistakes. The 10th and final rule for better living is to never blame others for your own mistakes. Taking responsibility for our actions is one of the core principles of Stoic philosophy, as well as a sign of emotional maturity and personal integrity. When we avoid blaming others and instead accept our own role in a situation, we empower ourselves to learn, grow, and make positive changes. Blaming others not only damages relationships, but also limits our ability to improve and take control of our lives. The Stoics taught that our happiness and peace of mind are based on focusing on what is within our control, namely our actions, thoughts, and responses. When we blame others for our own shortcomings, we essentially hand over our power as we make ourselves dependent on external circumstances. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, once said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it, that matters." This Stoic insight reminds us that even when external situations are challenging, how we choose to respond is ultimately up to us. Psychology supports this approach by showing that individuals who take responsibility for their actions experience higher levels of self-esteem, greater resilience, and stronger relationships. Research published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology indicates that people who practice self-accountability are more likely to learn from their mistakes and make constructive changes in their behavior. In contrast, those who frequently blame others tend to experience more conflicts in relationships and lower levels of satisfaction in life. By accepting responsibility, we strengthen our self-worth and reduce unnecessary conflict with others. One of the most effective ways to avoid blaming others is to practice self-reflection. When something goes wrong, take a moment to ask yourself, what was my role in this situation? What could I have done differently? By identifying your part in the outcome, you're able to take accountability and learn from the experience. Self-reflection allows you to gain insights into your behaviors and choices, helping you to grow and improve over time. Let's consider a practical example. Imagine you're working on a team project and the results don't meet expectations. It's easy to point fingers, perhaps blaming a teammate for not contributing enough or criticizing the supervisor for lack of clear guidance. But by taking a step back and evaluating your own actions, you might realize that you could have communicated more effectively or set clearer goals. Taking responsibility for your own part in the outcome not only fosters a more constructive environment, but also sets an example for others to follow. From a neuroscientific perspective, taking responsibility activates the prefrontal cortex, the area of the brain associated with planning, decision-making, and impulse control. When we engage in blame shifting, we activate areas of the brain linked to defensive reactions and emotional impulsivity, such as the amygdala. By choosing to accept responsibility, we shift our brain's focus from self-protection to self-improvement, promoting a mindset that's more open to learning and growth. One helpful technique to prevent blaming others is the I statement method. Instead of saying, "You didn't give clear instructions," you can say, "I think I could have asked more questions to clarify the instructions." This subtle shift helps you focus on your own actions rather than casting blame on others. Using I statements is a powerful way to communicate assertively and take ownership of your role in a situation without creating defensiveness in others. The concept of self-responsibility also appears in other philosophies, such as existentialism. Jean-Paul Sartre, the French existentialist philosopher, argued that we are responsible for our choices, and that blame is a form of avoiding that responsibility. Sartre believed that freedom and responsibility go hand in hand, and when we try to blame others for our circumstances, we deny our own freedom. This existential idea aligns closely with Stoic thought, as both philosophies emphasize the importance of taking responsibility for one's own life. Another practical way to avoid blame is through reframing mistakes as learning opportunities. When we view mistakes as opportunities for growth, we become less defensive and more open to constructive feedback. This shift in perspective is common in growth mindset theory, which suggests that individuals who see challenges as chances to improve are more resilient, adaptable, and successful in the long run. Instead of seeing a mistake as a failure, view it as a lesson. By asking, "What can I learn from this?" you not only take responsibility, but also set yourself up for growth. One of the benefits of taking responsibility is that it improves your relationships. People who avoid blame are often more respected and trusted because they don't create a climate of fear or defensiveness. Blame tends to drive people apart, while taking responsibility builds bridges. A study from Harvard Business School found that teams that practice collective responsibility, where members hold themselves and each other accountable, tend to be more effective, cooperative, and resilient in the face of challenges. Let's bring in a quote from Buddhist teachings to complement the Stoic approach. In Buddhism, the concept of karma teaches that our actions create consequences, and that by taking responsibility for our actions, we can change our future. Rather than blaming others, Buddhism encourages us to look inward and understand that we have the power to influence our own lives. This aligns with the Stoic idea of focusing on what we can control, our own actions and attitudes, rather than what lies outside our influence. A practical exercise to reinforce this principle is the accountability reflection. At the end of each day, take a moment to reflect on any situations where you were tempted to blame others. Ask yourself if there's anything you could have done differently. This reflection helps you become more aware of your own behaviors and encourages you to take ownership of your actions. It also reinforces the habit of self-responsibility, helping you make more mindful choices in the future. In conclusion, the rule to never blame others for your own mistakes is about embracing self-responsibility and fostering a growth-oriented mindset. By focusing on our own actions and learning from our mistakes, we build resilience, improve our relationships, and gain control over our own lives. The next time you're tempted to point fingers, ask yourself, what was my role in this, and what can I learn? This mindset not only empowers you to grow, but also leads to a more fulfilling and peaceful life. These 10 rules provide a framework for living a more intentional and fulfilling life. By focusing on what's within your control, treating others with empathy, and seeking balance and purpose, you lay the foundation for resilience, peace, and contentment. Each of these rules invites us to simplify, reflect, and live with integrity, qualities that create genuine happiness. Consider choosing one rule to explore this week. Whether it's letting go of worry, moderating ambition, or embracing simplicity, small changes can have a lasting impact. These principles aren't about perfection. They're about making mindful choices that bring you closer to a meaningful life. If you found this episode helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who could benefit from these insights. Let's continue building a community rooted in growth, resilience, and Stoic wisdom.